Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, today is the 5th Sunday in the season of Lent. Almost we have come to the end of the season of Lent, and next Sunday will be the Palm Sunday. From that Sunday onwards, we will begin the Holy Week. Therefore, before entering into today's homily or the reflection, I thought that it is very much fitting that we also remind ourselves about the journey that Jesus has been taking all of us all throughout these 4 last Sundays. So can you remember where Jesus took us in the first Sunday of Lent? Can you remember? Can't remember? He took all of us to wilderness, the desert. Why? He showed a reality, that is, temptations are there in the world. And if we fall into those temptations, we will not have the relationship with God. But then, as children of God, we should have that relationship. So we need to face these temptations. They are part of life. So we can't remove them. Therefore, we need to face these temptations and win over the temptation. So he showed us a way. Right? In simple terms, it's prayer, then fasting, then acts of penance, and all the other good things. Then where Jesus took us on the second Sunday in the season of Lent, can you remember? Can't you remember? Children, any children here? He took us to the Mount Tabor, right? Then he showed us the glimpse of heaven, the glimpse of heavenly life. So that's why the disciples who were there, Peter, John, and James, they wanted to stay there because they had gone through the sufferings in life. Now they came on this mountain with Jesus, and Jesus showed them the glimpse of heavenly life. And what Peter said, Lord, this is a blessed moment, blessed place, so we will stay here. We will put 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. So he wanted to stay there. But then God the Father spoke to them. He said, listen to my son. Then Jesus came and told Peter, Peter, now let us go down. Down there, we had to suffer and we had to die. Through that life only, that means through our own day-to-day life only, we will be able to reach this heavenly life. So that was revealed. Then on the 3rd Sunday of Lent, so can somebody tell me where Jesus took all of us to 3rd Sunday? Any child here? He took us to Jacob's well. Jacob's well. Why? He wants to show us that we all are feeling this thirsty, having this feeling of getting thirst for many things in life. And day-to-day living, we try to achieve them. We try to quench our thirst by doing so many things. But then thirst will never go. If you achieve something, we want to achieve something else also. So, thirst will never quench. Then what Jesus said to this Samaritan woman, if you drink The living water that I am giving you, that is the gospel or the word of God, you will never be thirst. You will be satisfied in your situations in life. Then on the fourth Sunday, last Sunday, at least that somebody else, a child, where Jesus took us. Huh? You don't know? He took us to a pond. Not to have bath, right? Not to have bath. So he took us to this pond, and there was a blind person, and he healed his blindness and gave sight. And there was an argument with the Pharisees and all that, because Pharisees, they were spiritually blind. So Jesus wanted to show us that we should come out from our spiritual blindness to see God's grace. In simple terms, I know that you all have meditated on these Gospels. So with that, my dear brothers and sisters, where Jesus take us today, it's also a very important place. Where? Jesus take us to a funeral. His friend has died. So he take all of us to this funeral and remind us, death is a reality. We will all die one day. Though I preach, I don't know what will happen next day, right? Only God knows. So we will all die one day. But then there is something to reflect, something very important to reflect here. So that is being spoken in the liturgy of the word today. So what is that? Now, when Jesus wanted to roll away the stone of the tomb, then Martha said, Lord, Lazarus had died. He was in the tomb for 4 days. And if you roll out the stone, the bad smell come out. So what was that? The world thinks with death, everything is over. So world invites all of us, actually, my dear brothers and sisters, to live till our death. To live till our death. That is the idea of the world, right? Isn't it? Sometimes when people share their experiences, they also come and say, Father, in Sinhala they say, Maranaka vitarane Father. Only we do these things until we die, till we die. So world says to live the life till we die. But what Jesus says, Jesus invites all of us to live even after death. To live even after death. So on which side are you? The world side or on Jesus' side? So that you have to decide. So, my dear brothers and sisters, this homily inspire you to find the answer for that question. As I said, as we drew closer to the Holy Week, the church places before us one of the most powerful and deeply human gospel passages, that is, raising of Lazarus. My dear friends, it is not just a miracle. Of course, it is a miracle, but then it is not just a miracle. It is a story about life. It is a story about death, hope, and the transforming power of Jesus in the darkest moments of our very own lives, right? So at the heart of today's gospel, there is a simple but profound truth. What is that? Jesus does not remain distant from our suffering. He enters into it. When Jesus arrives in Bethany, Lazarus was already dead. Martha was disappointed Mary was grieving, and atmosphere was heavy with loss. And what Jesus did, according to the gospel, he wept. He wept. So those two words, Jesus wept, reveal the heart of God. Therefore, our God is not indifferent to our life situations. You must understand that. He is not cold or removed. He feels our pain. He walks into our brokenness. He stands beside us in our grief. But Jesus does not stop at weeping, my dear friends. He moves forward. He moves from compassion to action. Standing before this tomb, Jesus cried out, saying, "Lazarus, come out." With those powerful words, life returns where death seemed final. So, my dear brothers and sisters, this gospel is not only about Lazarus, it is about each and every one of us. We all have our own tombs, isn't it? Give a reflection and see. It can be a sin we feel that we are trapped in. Or it can be a broken relationship we think that can never be healed. Or maybe a disappointment that has buried our hope, scattered our hopes. Or it can be a spiritual dryness where we feel that God is absent. So there can be so many other experiences in our lives like that. Then like Martha, sometimes we also say, "Lord, it is too late." Martha told that, "Lord, it is too late now. The situation is already dead." But my dear brothers and sisters, what Jesus tells us in today's gospel is important. Jesus says, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So dear friends, we should never forget that God specializes in bringing life out of what we think is finished. There is something very important that we need to give a serious thought in this whole episode. What is that? Now, before Jesus performs the miracle, he gives a command: take away the stone. So, my dear brothers and sisters, this is very important. Jesus could have done everything by himself, but he invites human cooperation. Even you can remember when Jesus went to his village, Nazareth, people were not ready to accept him. They were not believing in him. So he did not do any miracles there. So if we go through the whole Bible, always God expects human cooperation, even from the beginning in the book of Genesis. So my dear brothers and sisters, let us ask from us, what is the stone in our life or in my life? Is it the pride that prevents reconciliation? Or is it the fear that keeps all of us from taking a step forward? Is it the habitual sin that we refuse to surrender? Is it my lack of faith that blocks God's grace? Think of. Dear friends, sometimes we pray for miracles, but then we are not ready to move the stone. That's why sometimes our prayers are not being answered. So, Lent is precisely this time, a time to roll away the stone so that God can act in us. After Lazarus comes out, Jesus says, "Unbind him and let him go." So even after receiving life, Lazarus was still wrapped in burial clothes. So this is so true in our lives as well. We also see that reality. Even after doing a good confession, even after encountering God, we sometimes remain bound by our guilt, by our past mistakes, by the fear of judgment, or by lack of self-worth. So, my dear brothers and sisters, Jesus wants not only to give us life, but also give us freedom. Freedom in life. My dear friends, some years ago, there was a young boy who had fallen into serious addiction. His life was collapsing. His studies failed. Then his family lost trust in him, and he felt completely worthless. Eventually, this boy said to himself, "My life is finished. There is no way back now." So one day, normally mothers love their sons and daughters, right? Even fathers, they do. But then the quick step is taken by the mother. So one day, his mother persuaded this boy, almost forced him to attend a retreat. So he resisted. But then, reluctantly, he went to this retreat. So during the retreat, there was a moment of Eucharistic adoration. For the first time in life, he knelt before the Eucharistic Lord in silence, and he felt something great. What is that? In his life, always he heard about passing judgments. You are wrong, you have done something like this, it is not good. So all these things he had heard. But before the Lord, he did not hear anything of that. But then he felt so much of love, so much of acceptance. So my dear brothers and sisters, what happened after that? So a deep, overwhelmed sense that God had not given up on him. He felt that. So that night he went for a very good confession. And it was not easy for him. It was like rolling away a very heavy stone. But that moment became a turning point of his life, a moment of grace. And he also felt that recovery was not instant. It took time, effort, and support. But finally, step by step, he began to live the life again. So years after this incident, he shared his testimony saying, "I thought I was buried, but Jesus called me by my name. And he asked me to come out." So my dear brothers and sisters, this is the good news in today's liturgy of the word. In the first reading, God says through the prophet, "I will open your graves and have you rise from them." And St. Paul in the second reading reminds all of us, the Spirit of Him, that means God, who raised Jesus from the dead, dwells in you. So this is not just a future promise, my dear friends. It is a present reality. God can give us hope even when we are in hopeless situations. God can raise your broken marriage. God can restore your relationship once again. God can restore our lost peace. God can renew our faith. God can bring life into our dead situations. So nothing is beyond His power. So my dear brothers and sisters, as we enter the final days of Lent, I invite you to do 3 concrete things. 3 concrete things in order to live after death. So first thing, you should identify your tomb. You should identify your tomb. Be honest before God. What part of your life feels dead? Is it a situation in your profession or a job? Is it a situation at your home or in your relationship? Or is there someone that you cannot forgive? Is it an addiction in which you are stuck? Likewise, there can be many tombs in our lives. So next step. Next, you need to roll away the stone. Your effort should be there, because God is going to bless that effort. Take one real step. Maybe you can go for a good confession. The priest will be available during this, especially during the Holy Week and coming week as well. Go for a good confession. Or go to the person that you cannot forgive and forgive him. Or pray over your difficult situations in life with great faith in God. Or surrender yourselves to God's power. Then you will experience what Lazarus experienced. Then listen to his voice. The final part. Listen to his voice. You can listen to him in prayer. You can listen to him by reading the scriptures meditatively. Or you can listen to Jesus in silence. Sometimes when we come to pray, we say so many things, so many words, so many things from our part. But then we never listen to Jesus. So listening to Jesus is also important. So my dear brothers and sisters, the story of Lazarus is not just about a man who died long time ago. It is a story about you. It is a story about me. Jesus stands before the tombs of our lives today and calls us by our name, not to condemn us, but to give us life. So, my dear friends, let us not remain in our graves of fear, sin, or despair. We need to come out, because when Jesus calls, death does not have the final word, but life does. So find your answer for those two questions. You want to live till you die, or you want to live after your death?